Hey friend, and welcome back to RGD Game, least toxic, most fun community in all of gaming. Have you ever tried to play a late game champion and felt totally powerless? Have you ever tried Zeri specifically and seemed like she didn't do any damage to the enemy, and meanwhile the other ADC is just blowing people up left and right? Well, if this has ever happened, then this video is going to be your savior. This is going to be my standard loadout for Zeri. I'll change out shield for exhaust depending on the enemy comp. If it's somebody like, let's say a Kaisa who's going to dive me, maybe a Vayne, I might switch out to exhaust, that way I can exhaust them to be able to get away a little bit faster, but generally I'm going to run shield because it gives her the bonus movement speed as well. As far as runes, lethal tempo, so you can stack attack speed, because when you use her ultimate, attack speed with her ultimate gets really crazy. Brutal helps out early game, does a little bit extra damage, and helps you sort of win that early game. That can be a little bit hard if you pick a later game rune, so that's why I like Brutal on her. Coup de Grace, that way you can deal damage to the enemy when they have less than 40% health, so you can get kills a little bit easier. Alacrity, bonus attack speed for taking down minions, and you can get up to an additional 20% attack speed. And then bone plating, in order to help out your laning phase, so that way you can just resist some of the damage that the enemy's going to do, especially good against enemies that can poke you, like this match right here, where you have a Lux or a Jhin that can hit you and do a ton of damage. As far as builds, this is my standard build. The only thing I'll change out a couple of things here. Once Guardian has popped, if I have enough gold, I'll buy Bloodthirster and just change those out as the fight goes on. So as soon as Guardian would be back up, I'll switch back out, sell Bloodthirster, buy Guardian. And then I will buy Serpent's Fang. If we're against an enemy comp that has a lot of shield, I'll buy that first item. If the enemy has basically no healing, I'll go with Lord Dominic's as well. But generally, this is going to be my standard build right here that you're looking at. Immortal Shield Bow, great on Zeri because you get everything that she needs. You get attack speed, crit, vamp. You get a shield that ends up giving you more vamp, plus the shield gives you movement speed. I like Phantom Dancer. Some people hate it, but it gives you movement speed, attack, crit, bonus attack speed as well. So really strong. And then if you're going with a lot of crit, you'll want Infinity Edge. That way your crit does more damage, it gives you more crit, and you get the attack damage that comes along with it. I'm going to be playing Zeri into an early game comp with an Ashe support. Other than an entirely off meta pick, Ashe is probably the worst support we could be paired up with here. I guess let me know if you think there would be a worse support than Ashe here, or who you think would be worse than Ashe to be paired with. In this video, I'm going to teach you when to pick Zeri, why you should consider having her as a champion you play, how to lane, how to teamfight, and how to noticeably improve your win rate with her. I'm going to say this right off the bat. I don't know that I'd ever blind pick Zeri into an enemy comp. I suppose if your support is hovering over a Lux or Seraphine or maybe a Karma, then you could blind pick Zeri knowing that they're probably going to support you and play somebody who can shield you. But other than that situation, I would normally just first pick Zeri and have no idea what the comps are going to be. The enemy picked Lux, which is going to shield most of their team in team fights. So Zeri is going to be a pretty good pick into this comp, regardless of what else is chosen. But we ended up getting a Volibear as well, and so we can use that to get shield from Volibear because he's generally going to have a lot of shield, especially in the mid and late game. Team who relies heavily on shields. If the enemy has 3 champions who use shields, Zeri is a perfect pick. You can buy Serpent's Fang, and with her third ability and or ultimate, hit their entire team, steal their shield, and reduce the enemy shield with Serpent's Fang. The enemy doesn't stand a chance against you in team fights if that's the case. We want to be in control of the game, and so we're going to need to keep an eye on the map and make sure that if a rotation happens, we can help our jungle, help our mid, and be able to make something happen to get that early lead on the enemy. Okay, so here's our first, I wouldn't say it's an opportunity just yet, but we can see that Wu is on our side of the map. Fortunately, their mid just got a kill on our mid, but we need to be aware that Wukong is on our side of the map. We're getting pressed in, and so he could consider a rotation. It's a little bit early. We really want him to have his ultimate up before he makes his first rotation, but that's going to be okay. And so now we see Volibear collapsing on Wukong into the mid. And so what am I doing? Fortunately, I'm giving up a couple of minions in order to help rotate, so that way it's not a 4 versus 2 against our team. And you can see this is kind of a weird spot, so we need to play safe. Ashe is in a weird area, and we see that Jhin steps up a little bit too far, and we're able to get a kill. And that's the situation in which you need to pay attention to in order to get kills early with Zeri, especially against an early comp. And now we can see Singe just, I think he saw blood in the water there and thought he could maybe get a kill or two on Wukong and Cat, and didn't realize that he was running right into me, and we were able to get a kill right there. So you have to pay attention to the map. You have to watch what's going on. I know sometimes it's easy to get focused on farming up your waves. You know, I'm a late game ADC, so I need to get all my waves. But you need to be aware that if the enemy team is rotating on your team and it's going to be a 4 versus 2, you got to get there at least to ward off the enemy or to give your team a chance to win those fights. The next thing we need to think about is dragons. We really want to get dragons as Zeri. The longer the game goes, the more effective dragons are, the stronger we become, and the stronger and more bonuses we get from the dragons. And so Wukong is definitely on our side, and so I need to look at the map, see that Shin's is coming our way, and he runs right into us. I'm not sure if he was trying to avoid Wukong or what was happening. If you watch quickly there, I used Zeri's jump. It looked like I used it really early in that fight, but really what I was doing was dodging Volibear, and I was also dodging Jhin as well, who was trying to hit me with his abilities from long range. So that might have looked like I sort of preemptively did that right at Ashe, and I did want to get a kill on Ashe, but I was also dodging the abilities, and that's what you need to do. You have to hold Zeri's jump in order to do one of two things: guarantee a win on a fight, or save yourself in some way. I did a trick. Something that you also want to keep in mind as well is there is jumping over that wall in a diagonal fashion. I guess I don't know if it's exactly diagonal, but jumping over that wall in order to get behind the enemy ADC or somebody who's attacking the turret. You will find quite regularly that people underestimate Zeri's speed in getting back to lane, and so what they're actually probably doing is watching the top of the map in their case, where they're just waiting to see you coming back in lane. What you want to do is go off to the right and then jump over that wall so that way you can get behind them. The best combo you can do is jump over the wall, second ability, hit them while you're jumping over the wall. It'll auto aim itself. Then you're going to use your ultimate and then spam your first ability. So you'll be shooting through minions even if there are, because of your third ability. Your ultimate will also help you hit the enemy as well if they're dodging and going behind minions if the third ability wears off. And then your first ability is to slow them and put extra damage on them. So keep that in mind. That is a pro tip when you're playing Zeri, and you will get kills quite regularly because the enemy does not expect you to get to lane so quickly. Okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Jhin does not have a tower. We can jump over this wall. See my second ability right through the wall as I'm jumping. Ultimate, first ability, boom, we blow him up. He does not stand a chance. And in fact, you can do that almost as soon as you have your ultimate up, because it's so much damage so quickly that it's quite often the enemy can't react in time to be able to save themselves when they get hit by the crit of your second ability, your ultimate, your first ability. You'll get that off, one time for sure before they know what's going on, and then a second time as well within that fight. And so here, I probably should have jumped the wall and went right for Jhin, but that's okay. We had a lot of us here. The rotation was really good, and I want to take this tower, but we have 35 seconds or 36 seconds until we end up getting to the next dragon, which we'd really like. But I see Teemo here. I jump over the wall, use my third ability, and let's see if we can get him here. We're kind of in a weird spot. I don't know that we should, and we get him. Okay, perfect. That was a little bit close. If the enemy had rotated on us, it would have been a much worse spot, but fortunately we had some time. And now I'm heading to Dragon, and you can see I'm going to start Dragon before Wukong even gets here. One of my pet peeves with dragons and objectives is people's hesitancy to start them before the enemy gets there. Now, Volibear jumps in, and this is a tough spot for us, but we're able to get a kill and secure Dragon. I see what he was trying to do. If he could have waited a little bit longer and used his ultimate just to finish the dragon, I mean, we were going to get it down for him. That probably would have been a better choice on his part, but around the dragon, you start to panic, you want to get in there, Maybe he thinks he can survive long enough and put some damage on the dragon and get it. Unfortunately, wasn't able to. I made a mistake there. You saw pretty quickly. I just got in ahead of myself and should have been paying attention, but wasn't. That'll happen. Don't get down on your team. Sometimes your team dies in weird ways. Like that was a weird way for me to have my first death in this match. But it happens, and you don't want to just freak out because your teammates make a mistake like that. I mean, everybody does it, and unfortunately, right there, that was my first death, and they got some shutdown gold. So really not great. But again, not the end of the world, and not a reason to start flaming your team if you see something like that happen to them. We were able to get a few kills, though, after that and get Baron. Something I want to talk about when you have Baron. There are going to be times where it's weird to push down towers. So, like right now, I can't really push down a tower, but I did check the enemy jungle there to see if anything was up. And here's another play that you can make with Zeri. So you land a second ability, you jump over the wall, use your ultimate, and you're able to get another kill. Well, I was able to get another kill on Teemo. So don't be afraid to go a little bit crazy sometimes, especially now that we're ahead. We can make pretty big plays like I did just there in order to get kills. And in this case, they made a huge mistake. They were just overstepped, and I was able to catch up to them, and we're going to be able to finish the game. So hopefully this makes sense. If you follow some of these tips, you're going to be a better Zeri for it. You'll be able to get more wins. And I think in certain spots where the enemy has a ton of shields, she's actually going to be the best pick for you. Hopefully I see you on the roof. GG.